how do I give myself grace? I wake up every morning and I understand that I'm human and I'm flawed and I am going to make mistakes. And because I'm going to make mistakes, I'm not harsh on myself. I understand that with every mistake that I make, there's a lesson. So with every lesson, there's progress. I may not be perfect, but at least I get to learn with every mistake that I make. So yeah, and sometimes I just allow myself to be. I can see that, okay, this may not go well, but I'm just like, you know what? Let's go into it. Let's see what lesson can we get out of it. And it's actually also okay to just be, just make those mistakes, grow, learn from them, and keep it moving, and sometimes just love yourself, just spend quality time with self, and be honest with yourself. Critique yourself honestly. Sit there and be like, hey, you know what, Yvonne, you didn't do this well. You could have done better. But you know what? This is where we are. What are we learning from this? What can we do better next time? So yeah, give yourself grace and know that you're human. You will make mistakes, and some mistakes are going to be big and very messy, and it's going to look like you're never coming back from it, but you will come back from it. And some mistakes are very small, but they're going to teach you big lessons. So yeah, just allow yourself to make mistakes. When it's all said and done, you are a human being, and no one will ever experience life for you. So if you leave in a box whereby everything is safe and all of that, you're never going to fully experience life. So just go into the world and just be. Allow yourself to meet your fullest potential, and you will see that life is actually beautiful. No matter how many mistakes we make, we still have another chance to try again tomorrow, the next moment, the next second, the next year. But there's always an opportunity and a window to try again.
We're in trances, going off to different places, different planets. Watch your aura pass me by, losing balance. What if we run out of time and second chances? Empty-handed. You like the fast life, you like to drive, get down dirty, act like a bad guy.
Hey RealFam, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining. If it's your first time on my channel, welcome to the RealFam. For you to be a part of the RealFam, of course, you've got to subscribe, right?
Yeah. Subscribe.
And of course, if you're already part of the RealFam, thank you so much. I honestly appreciate your love, your support. You being here means so much. Really appreciate it. The numbers don't just grow on its own, but also your engagement matters the most. Thank you so much. So RealFam, as you saw from the intro, we have an amazing guest. This is my sis. Yes, I'm so honored to have you here. Thank you so much for coming, for honoring this invite. A lot has happened throughout the day already, but I'm grateful that you're here. And thank you so much. I don't take it for granted. And yeah, of course, she's going to introduce herself. There's no way that we're going to continue without her introducing herself. But before I get there, I think when you listen to her intro, when she spoke about giving herself grace, she mentioned something important about allowing yourself to make mistakes. And I think that's so profound, because as individuals, we tend to be so hard on ourselves because of the mistakes that we make, because of, not being able to achieve certain things that we want. And honestly, sometimes it's not a matter of you not achieving them or you maybe doing things the wrong way. Sometimes it's the timing. I think timing plays a huge role. Sometimes that season is not necessarily for that thing. So give yourself grace by allowing yourself to go through just about anything, to go through that so-called failure. And I'm saying so-called failure because I believe that failure is not something that should be glorified. Failure should be you sitting down thinking about, okay, what did I miss on what I did? How can I do it better? How can I correct it, right? So give yourself grace on the mistakes that you have done or you have come across and you're still going to do. because there's still going to be more mistakes that you're going to do. Without further ado, let's welcome our guest.
Hi everyone, my name is Yvonne Princess Shabangu. I am a YouTuber and I am a legal practitioner, and I am a child of God. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for this invite. You may feel honored me being here, but I feel much more honored that you were able to actually entrust me with sharing on your channel, actually trusting me to be able to share the wisdom that I have. It's so beautiful, and I thank God and I pray that this platform grows and it changes and impacts lives out there. That's what's up, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that prayer. I honestly appreciate that. And just going back to why I even started this channel, mainly it was for me to really empower and transform.
Sure.
I think for the longest time, before I even thought of this platform, this is what I used to do. I used to save all the motivational quotes and all of that. So I would save them and then just go through them, right? We're not talking about motivation necessarily, but what I'm saying is that used to help me to really be in connection with myself, be realistic with myself. And of course, the Bible. I think the Bible for me is the best motivation ever. There are motivational quotes in the Bible that you can get. And if you really give yourself time to read the word, you really see so much inspiration, so much motivation there. So I think me starting this channel, I really saw the need to empower, to really be the voice to the voiceless, to really reach out to those that are not able to really reach that level. So So RealFam, I think because both of us are YouTubers, make sure you subscribe to her channel. I'll make sure that I leave her link on the description. Do subscribe to her channel, not necessarily because you're adding a number, but because you want to be impacted. And of course, if you doubt that, just keep watching so that you can be convinced that you need to go to her channel, right? But while we're there, let's allow her to tell us more about her channel, why she started it, what's the purpose of it, and and the name behind it.
So generally, right, when I was a kid in high school, so I wanted to do journalism or radio, and then my teacher was like to me, no, actually not even to me, told my parents, listen, if this child is going to study journalism or radio, and not to undermine anyone, but you know how society sees a certain courses, right? So my teacher told my parents to say, listen, if she's going to do radio, she's going to do all of these things that she wants to do, she wants to go into the media industry and all of that, let her get a proper qualification. She's capable, And then I thought to myself, what proper qualification? I thought, let me do law. So I got to university, made really amazing friends, right? The same way how you and I connected. Remember, I jumped on your lives, and then you're like, you've got such a beautiful voice. You're well-spoken. So people always say that to me. They would always say, you're well-spoken, you speak well. And I'd always be like, okay, guys, genuinely deep down, I want to be in radio, but because you know what? I need to be, according to society, a dignified citizen of society. So I must go for a certain qualification that actually matches my intelligence according to other people, right? So then also I had friends that were really, they recognized that I had that voice. They recognized that I'm really empowering and all of that. I remember at some point, like in first year, we had a group, right? They used to call me auntie. Like now that I think about it, auntie, right? Youngest in the class, but auntie, because I was always ready to offer advice. I was always ready to empower people. Even my dad, my dad would always be like, you're always on the phone. What are your friends going to do without you? Because you're always advising one person or the other, right? So with all of that, I thought to myself, I can extend it to the rest of the world. But at the time, I didn't know. One of my friends, at the time, like the most trending YouTuber was like Nthabi, right? And then one of my friends is from Pretoria. She's like, no, friend, you can start a YouTube channel. Have you watched Nthabi? I'm like, what? YouTube? How does that even work? It's like to me, no, you just post videos. Tato at the time would just post like his university experience. You can have sit-downs, you can ask us questions, you can have different topics. Then I put up a video, I think 1 or 2 videos, and then I stopped. I wasn't consistent. I did it once. Like I did an intro video, and then I did a video with my friends where we spoke of feminism, and then we kept it moving, right? And then COVID-19 happens. When COVID-19 happens, now it's like, ma'am, you've got a YouTube channel. Maybe this is time, like people are spending time at home. People are watching stuff. Maybe this is time to be consistent, right? And then something came to my mind that I started doing on Instagram. I started Employment Wednesdays with my friends that were doing different things, like would do lives, try and educate people. How do you apply for studying or opportunities overseas? How do you apply for certain courses? How do you get certain jobs, right? We did that. Then something occurred to me to say, you can actually take this to YouTube, whereby it can impact a wider range of people, and then also it can stay there for longer, and it could possibly also make you money. So I started, but I wasn't consistent. Then in 2022, God kept on bugging me to say, I've given you a gift. I've given you some sort of knowledge that I need you to share with people, and you're not doing it consistently. Then I started doing it consistently, because also I'm very passionate about employment. I'm very passionate about young people being empowered firstly, but young people finding jobs, and not just finding jobs. Some young people being entrepreneurs, some young people actually expanding their territories, opening franchises and all of that. Then I thought to myself, if I'm passionate about this, what can I do to make sure that it's a reality? I might not be able to give you funding, but I may tell you where to get the funding. I might not be able to give you the job, but I can tell you how to secure the job. I can tell you what career websites you can use, right? So I thought to myself, let me start sharing this. And I got a very positive feedback from people. People were like, oh my God, watching your video made me feel like I'm not alone. Watching your video made me feel like you're praying with me. Watching your video made me feel better. It made me feel like things are going to get better. Then I became consistent. And then another thing, I was like, actually, but what is my biggest thing? The center of who I am is God. So when I looked at what is my biggest thing, being God, right? I was like, I can share my journey with God. I can share the beautiful things that God has done for me. I can share the lessons that God has taught me. And my life in general, my friends will tell you this. People that know me will tell you this. My life is a life of grace. My life is, I've entered rooms that I felt like I wasn't qualified. Or sometimes not even, you don't qualify. You know that actually, I'm now masters at this point in time. They require certain people, but God has enabled me to be there. God has enabled me to meet certain people that I would be like, these are like, I deserve to be met by other individuals. But God has given me that grace. So I was like, why not share this beautiful faith in God with other people? Why must I have a life in abundance alone? Let me share with people. And I know people, when you tell them about a lived experience, they want to know more. They're willing to actually practice. When I say to you, God has changed my life, and I'm able to share a certain story, and you relate to that story, you easily go back to God and be like, actually, God, if you could do it for Yvonne, maybe you can do it for me, So I started doing that, and then I started sharing and all of that. I also got very positive feedback, right? And then I thought to myself, because my life is a life of grace, and I want everybody to walk conscious of who they are, especially your identity in Christ, because I believe the center of anything is your relationship with God. So you cannot relate with humanity to your best ability if you don't have a relationship with God. You can argue if you want, but you can put it to test. Half the times our relationships with people fail because we don't have a relationship with God. If you have a relationship with God, you know what God requires you to do, or you know what you have to do. It becomes easier for you to give people grace. It becomes easier for you to walk in humbleness. It becomes easier for you to relate to His creation. I mean, God created the people. So if you want to have a better relationship with the people, rather have a beautiful relationship or a relationship with the Creator, because He created them. He knows them better. Now I know much about forgiving. I now know much about loving, because what? God teaches me these things through His word, right? So it's like, okay, let's experience this graceful life together. Then I thought to myself, actually, let me call my channel Graceful Family. So a friend of mine would always say, like, how they say there's aesthetical YouTubers, like you want to push a certain narrative, you want to be seen in a certain light. But my friend would always say to me, like, I love how you always push authentic content. And one thing I've realized, every time you're being authentic, you're touching lives. People actually gravitate towards you being authentic compared to you trying to be somebody else, somebody that I'm not. So I was like, you know what, let me be on this journey, let me grow with people, let me do my own part of transforming people's lives, because I believe one of my greatest callings is to serve people, you know, and service is not the same for each individual. Sometimes serving, it means I'm going to give you a cup of tea. Sometimes it means I'm just going to give you words that you need to unlock your best vision. Sometimes it means I'm going to hold your hand, literally. But yeah, because I'm called to serve, I was like, okay, let me dedicate this channel to serving other people, to educating them and teaching them what I know. Also trying to learn from other people, to hear what they have to say. Because in as much as I put content out there, that's my perspective, that's my experience. You also have some sort of liberty to say, okay, hey, Yvonne, I see that you did maybe 21-day fasting. I did 40-day fasting and it worked better for me. This is what happened. Like, we get to experience one another to a greater level. So yeah, that's what's up, guys. Go check out my channel. It's fun there.
Definitely, it's fun there. I mean, I'm subscribed to her channel, so definitely you can take it from me. It's worth subscribing to.
Sure.
And, you know, one thing I appreciate about, you know, learning is that, you know, as individuals, we realize that what we do is no longer just for us. We're doing it for other people. Sure. I think I can resonate to what you're saying about people coming back to you to say, you know, sharing a testimony of the content that you shared.
Sure.
I mean, I remember for me, I've been going through a difficult journey, a journey of change, not just, you know, a small change. It's a drastic change in my life. And I remember on my birthday, 23rd of Feb, I got a call. And it's weird that people that follow me on social media, like, I don't randomly get calls, but this person happened to be following me on Facebook. And I never even use Facebook Messenger, never. So this person calls me, and I happen to be on Facebook, you know, and I answered the call. I know I'm not one to answer Messenger because there are a lot of spams and all that. So you can get scammed or what, people can hack your platform. So I try to avoid that. But when I picked up the call, the person was like, you know, you've really done so much to help me go through the things that I've been going through. Sure. And you've been quiet for a while, and I just want you to know that your content really does so much for me, and I miss it.
Sure.
And that to me was an awakening moment to say, God is saying it's time for you to go back.
Yes. Because
what you're doing is not only just great, but it's changing lives.
Sure.
And I think that's what we're here for. You're changing lives through, you know, not just personal, but even career-wise, you know, jobs. I mean, right now, if you're sitting there and saying that you don't need a job, hi. Unamanga. So what I'm trying to say is that you know that you need her more than ever. Sure. If you are in that position. And even if you have a job now, something can happen tomorrow. Or maybe you want that promotion. She can help you tackle that. Sure. You know, so please do follow her, even on Instagram, please. So moving on to the next point. I think YouTube is a big space. And apart from just YouTube, I think what you are doing as an individual is just super amazing. And you're giving me ideas to actually have you as one of the speakers in my upcoming event, which is happening quite soon. Stay tuned. So, yeah. And me saying that is not because I love you. You're my sis. Not because social media was kind enough to connect us. Actually, it's not social media. This is God. This is God. It has to be God.
Social media was used as a tool.
As a tool to connect us and all of that, right? So I think there are a lot of individuals out there that are, you know, looking for jobs or trying their best to live their best life or grow in their career. They are praying, they are asking God for jobs, but nothing is happening. And I think, you know, getting a job is not just, you applying for a job and, you know, fixing your CV, sending that, hoping to get an interview. There's more to it.
Sure.
There's more to it. And I think you can unpack it nice. I mean, we had this conversation. I think you can unpack it nicely to prepare someone,
Sure.
you know, because it's not just you waiting and folding your hands. There's things that you have to do
Sure.
for you to get somewhere. And this is not just for jobs, just about anything that you want in your life. You might be working now and you probably want something. You want to buy a house, you want to buy a car. What are you doing in that waiting process?
Sure.
So yeah, take it over.
So, guys, it's important, if there's any mantra that I'm living in right now, is let it find you praying. For me, rule number one, whether it's an opportunity, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a promotion, it must find me praying, because you don't want to take an opportunity because at first value it looks good, only to find out that you are going into the devil's trap, right? So when something finds you praying, you know the rooms that you're supposed to be in and the rooms that you're not supposed to be in, and God will be able to tell you. Your spirit tells you. I have this thing whereby if I'm in the wrong room, my tummy twists. You know, like my body tells me wrong room, even when I'm having a conversation with the person I'm not supposed to have a conversation, or even when I'm oversharing, the Holy Spirit tells me that this is where we stop, you know, because of the type of relationship that I have with God, because I spend so much time praying. You know, when you spend so much time praying, it doesn't just help you get things or blessings, but it helps you with discernment. You know when to apply, you know when to stop, you know when to rest, you know where to apply, because sometimes it's not a thing of you're not good enough, you're knocking on the wrong doors, you know. So yeah, and another thing, right, we may look at applications and think, I'm just gonna pray, I'm just gonna do my CVs. Guys, it's really the small things that you look at. Look at firstly your grammar, your CV. Like your CV, how does it look like? Grammatically, is it correct? Are there commas at the right places? Full stops at the right places? Do you have proper information? I always say this: if you want to be excellent, or if you want change, you have to do more than an average person is doing. So if a regular person who's looking for a job is just sending CVs electronically, you have to go out of your comfort zone and start going to submit CVs physically where they allow you to do that. I, for one, I have one of the most supportive fathers. My dad, I had to print out over 50 CVs. My dad actually physically submitted those CVs for me because he was mobile. So he would deliver things at different places. So anytime he's at any complex, like office complexes, he would drop off the CV at different law firms. I had to sit down in different coffee shops, write down list of law firms from yellow pages. I had to call some law firms and be like, guys, I sent in my application. You know, what can I do, and all of that, because sometimes you send an email with 100 other people. What is different about your email? You need to be able to stand out. You need to be able to figure out, okay, if every person is arriving at an interview at 7 o'clock or 10 minutes before the interview, you have to make it a point that you arrive 30 minutes before the interview. Then you are able to actually say, hey guys, I'm much more punctual than a regular individual because I'm up at 4 a.m. I'm at work at 7 a.m. before everybody else. You can always count on me if you want anything done first thing in the morning, because I'm always here before everybody. But all of that takes work. Yeah. And with work, right, you can't do the work if you don't know what the issue is, if you haven't identified the problem, if you haven't identified what you need to do. If you wanna, like, I'd use Lionel Messi. He's one of the best players that the world has ever known. But if I want to be that great, I would study his life. I would look at what he's doing. What does he eat? What time? How many times does he train? And if I want to be like him, I may try use his standard. But if I want to be greater than him, I may try and do more than he does, right? When we look at it from a perspective of applying for a job, you look at places like LinkedIn. There's always HR people sharing the don'ts of CVs, the don'ts of interviews. You go there, you look at that, you're like, okay, they're complaining that every person's CV has grammatical mistakes. How does my CV look like? Does it have grammatical mistakes? They're complaining that every cover letter has generic items. What do? I tailor make each cover letter for each company. Right. And then they're complaining that people come late, people come not dressed the part, people come overdressed, or people come looking a certain way. You correct those little things. Trust me, guys, it may be little things, but changing approach, changing how you look at things. Like I said, an average person would be like sending emails and saying, I don't have a job. But A person that is much more willing is able to say, actually, let me wake up today and drop off these CVs by myself. Sometimes you don't know, maybe an opportunity is waiting for you. You could be just going to drop off your CV, and when you get there, the CEO of the company is there and they want to have a chat with you, compared to when you send a CV on email, whereby it could easily go in spam box, or it could easily be deleted, or a lot could happen. So you must always be willing to extend yourself, go an extra mile. You must always be willing. I think a lot of people, I heard this from Mpumi, but she quoted somebody else: put in your 10,000 hours. Put in the time, put in more than enough. Because if we are competing for the same job, you can't want to be at my level, you have to surpass my level. If we're competing for the same things, if I want to be, if I wake up at 7, you have to try and wake up at 6 and see what you can do better compared to how I do it. If you want to be much of a great speaker and I read 2 books a month, you might as well want to read 4 books, because you're able to say, actually, I can read faster, I can articulate information quickly and effectively compared to what Yvonne can do, right? So it's important to put in the work. It's important that when preparation meets prayer, magic happens. You see God's miraculous work. You can't wake up and say you want to miraculously pass an exam. You have to study. You have to go to class. You have to have your attendance. You have to do your assignments, right? But when you're in class on time, you studied and all of that, the Holy Spirit is able to interject and be like, I want you to remember what you've studied, and you remember. But now, if you haven't studied, what is the Holy Spirit going to remind you of?
Sure.
There's nothing to remember because you have nothing to offer. So it's always important that you don't sabotage yourself. If anything goes wrong, can it be nature? You must know that you've done every possible thing. My father used to say to me, so every time, like, he's a very academic dad, those people that sit down with you with your school report and say, why is it last time you got 80, now you're getting 75? I remember in one of my, I think, pure maths, I'd gotten a 50 or a 60, and then I showed him my report, but I wasn't so pleased because I knew that I could do better. And then he said to me, if in this season this is the best you could give, I'm happy with it. I only have a problem if you didn't give it your best shot. Then I will question you. But if you have studied and done every practice that they could be, or anything that you could possibly do, or what a normal human being could have done, then I'm happy. It's okay. The only time where I would have a problem with you if you didn't give it your best shot. So if you can't be complaining about not being hired if you're going to interviews late. You can't be complaining about not being hired if your CV has grammatical errors. You need to teach yourself to do, like I said, what an ordinary person doesn't do. You use people around you. My friends know I go on hours with my friends on calls, sometimes to discuss the type of videos I want to put there, just to hear what they think. And sometimes we're like, okay, friend, maybe wait until you post this one, because maybe this one is too personal for now because you're going through this now. Maybe wait for a month until you can post this. Maybe this is oversharing. Sometimes when I prepare for interviews, I look at myself in the mirror. I pretend like I'm looking at those interviewers. I make people proofread my stuff. It can be very intimidating having people proofread your things or critique you, but it's usually great when people that love you are the one that actually review that. Because if I can't convince my father or my mother that I'm good enough, then it's hard that I'm able. It's hard to convince the rest of the world.
Of course. If
I can't sit here with you as my sister and be like, yo, listen, I'm great at this, then it becomes almost hard for me to enter a boardroom and be like, hey, I'm great at this. Sure. It starts within. I need to be able to sell to you, to be able to sell, equally the same. I need to be supported within first before I expect this great support from the rest of the world, right? So it's very, very, very important that you prepare yourself. These things find you preparing. These things find you ready. These things find you doing the extra hours. These things don't, sometimes we take things for granted. You think, oh no, because I have the qualifications. Sweetie, a lot of people have qualifications. A lot of people have masters. A lot of people are going into the PhD route. So you need to be able to sit there. I always say training to be a lawyer is military, because you need to sit there and convince a person that has 20 years of experience that you, as an LLB holder, you can actually give them something in their company. And once you learn to sell yourself, and once you learn to sort of take what you're selling and put it into reality, if I'm saying I'm punctual, I need to be able to show that. I need to have a track record of being punctual. I need to be able to say, if I'm resilient, I need to be able to go to stuff and be like, hey, listen, I've been through this and I've shown that I'm resilient. If I'm saying you can count on me to be here every morning at 7, I must be able to tell you that I did a job where I was required to be there at 6 a.m. and I was there at 5:30 in the morning, So it's always very important to stand out. It's important to put yourself in a position whereby you are not just the same. It's in simple things, maximizing anything that God has given you. There's certain things that I know until I enter the room, they will never be done. Even scripture says it. There's certain things that God called you alone. And I know it may be hard to believe, but there's certain things that God called you alone. Nobody can articulate certain things the way I do. Yeah. That is my power. So also with you must be able to spark that dream, make yourself pop. You don't underplay yourself or put yourself in a box and be like, oh my God, you know what, I'm just looking for a job, anything. No, sit down there, have conversations with God and say, listen, God, I have a dream of having such a career. Please give me enough strength, give me courage to be able to do this. Push me into the right rooms. And when those opportunities come, help me identify them, and another thing that we also, why I'd always say, let it find you praying. It's also important to make that short prayer whereby you say, God, may the people that are supposed to help me be willing. Because sometimes we are delayed because the person who's supposed to open the door, they're not willing or their heart is misplaced. So it's always important you pray, you prepare. If anything goes wrong, can it not be your fault? Can it not be because you printed out back to back, or you were not wearing the right shirt, or you were clumsy? Can it be because it's just nature or it's not time? It's that I think for me that's very, very important. And I'm not saying it's any easy. I'm not saying it's going to be easy to find a job just like that. But also when you're praying, I made a covenant with God, and it was very audacious. When I spoke to God, I said, God, listen, I'm going to serve you people. I'm going to share enough as much as you want me to share. But I need us to make an agreement that you can't let me be without a job. And God said, damn me. I think I started working since I was 16. I'm 25 now. I've been working for 9 years. Yes, in some years, I wasn't working in what I studied for, but I've never lacked because I've had that chat with God. And because God is faithful and he sees my efforts as well. Sometimes God just wants your effort. Peter, when he wanted to walk on the sea, God was like, do it. You can. But when Peter started realizing Guti, he's walking on the sea, he became in doubt and he started sinking. But it shows you that you're capable. You're capable of getting that job. You can get it, but you just need to sit there, study what you can do better. Don't think people, because sometimes we think we're not being hired because we're not good enough. Not most of the cases, you are good enough. Maybe you're applying at the wrong company. How would you know the right company to apply at? The master. God. How would you know timing and season when to move or change jobs or when to apply? God. So that is why I'd say it's important that you're intentional even in your praying. You're intentional in drafting your CVs. You speak to your CV. It's also always important to know the people that are interviewing you. Go on LinkedIn, search for them. Okay, when you enter a room, hi, Mr. Lamini. Oh, hi, Yvonne. Do we know each other? Oh, not really, but I've read your articles. I've seen your work. Show interest, show that you are interested in what you are trying to achieve, So yeah, guys, it's not as simple as ABCD, but you can get that job that you desire. You just need to want it more. You just need to apply small changes. Like I said, it's a base. Look at your CV. How can you better it? Yeah. Look at how you articulate yourself. Practice on the mirror. Talk to yourself. Definitely. Talk to other people. Definitely. Ask me, how do I sound? And in practice, don't try and, cram things and, you walk around like you are a memory stick with a memorandum. Allow process to take its place, because also when you know something or when you understand something, you don't need to cram it. A person could ask it in many different ways. You'll be able to answer it flawlessly.
That's true.
Know
your story.
Yes, just know your story, because we make the mistake of thinking, oh no, I'll just watch one of Yvonne's videos and that's it, and I'll go there and copy everything she's saying. No, give it your touch.
It's like those assignments that you copy and expect to get everything right when you're at the exam.
So it's important, give everything your touch. But when it's all said and done, you guys will get the jobs that you need. And my prayer for you is that you get the job at the right company, and that job doesn't come because you're desperate, but it comes because it's the right time, the right place, and the right season.
We're in transit,
Love it.
going all to different places, different planets. Watch your aura pass me by.